radio in the beginning. Like, I started at the college radio show, went to the mainstream commercial radio show, and along that became a quote unquote DJ. But I call this was back when the craft and like terminology and words really mattered. You know, what is a DJ? Like, are you a disc jockey or do you play CDs? Are so then, to save face and all of that, because I was on the radio, but I wasn't spinning records. I was a DJ because I was on the radio, but I wasn't in the club spinning records. So I just called myself, like, we made a little nickname. It was like, I'm DJ Push Buttons. So like I would be like, me mix me. I'm not in the Serato days scratching, doing all of this, getting beats per minute and doing all that. So I would just literally DJ Push Buttons, like slam records and shit together, play the mixes. But I was also in DJ circles. And them niggas really took that shit to heart. Like, you didn't come in and it was also the switch from the digital age to the from vinyl. Like, you didn't carry crates in the club, nigga. Y'all just got MP3s. Y'all doing it. That was a big ass topic amongst DJs.
Do you remember when the CD
the CD 1000? Yeah, the CD 1000s, where you could actually have a CD and spin it like you could spin it like vinyl, but it was actually a CD. And it was that you would have thought that, first of all, you would have thought that just changed the game, like sliced bread type shit. Like, right. I can listen. I got my book of CDs, but I can treat it like I don't have to find and the computer was helping you out. So let's just say this Lil Jon track was 180 beats per minute. You don't have to find a break in anything anymore. The Serato did that shit for you. So Serato made DJing so simple that a lot of niggas became DJs who didn't learn the craft of DJing, like of actually spinning records and learning how to DJ.
And how to find a BPM that doesn't match.
Yeah, like you know,
make it work, or find one that does match on par with it, and then you can make it work that way. That's why the whole aspect of like playlisting today, it's like it can never ever match up to what the craft of being a DJ was back then, because just like you said, being a DJ was way more than just finding the song. You had to figure out if that song was even gonna flow in sync with the song that you just played right before it.
And
totally different concept.
And mixing was a craft. To have, and I go back to times are different now. Having things first, because the internet was newer, but it wasn't new, so you might have had, how did you get the acapella from Nicki? You could, because at the time people weren't YouTube wasn't where it was there, but it wasn't where you could just infinite search and find things, and software and technology wasn't up to the times where you could just rip the vocals off of something then. So if you had literally the acapella of something, you was like, oh shit, how are they playing the hook of this and you don't hear nothing in the club? I mean, nothing. It's just the silent acapella version on beat, and then they just drop the beat, and then you're like, oh, that even had what was that fucking machine? Cause shit, like if you had a show, you didn't have a show. You could have a show disc like a CD, but it was a machine that you would plug into the board, and it would have like all of your tracks, like like if you were on the road DJ, you wouldn't bring your laptop. You would just it was called a 360 machine. I think it was called a 360 instant replay 360 or some shit, and it had you could load that bitch up, and it had all of your drops. So I remember like Lil Jon came to the club, and all of his like all that shit was pushed, but like was literally buttons to be pressed that rocked the show. Like his DJ was doing that shit live, and he plugged that machine, and it was all of his authentic shit. Like Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, his whole show it was no show disc. It was actually plugged into the machine, and you actually had that shit nonstop. So like times have changed now. So nigga, you had a USB shit now, or you might even have that shit on the cloud. Like you're not even plugging up. But we was actually out last night, and we was like at an R&B spot, and the same DJ who used to be at another arm across the street was there. This nigga played the same mix that he played from the other, like it was just his mix. Like it was
all he had to do was press play on that bitch.
He
and
just
let
pressed
it
play. That nigga walked away, and then because my wife, she was like, "Hey, I know what's finna come next." I was like, "What?" She was like, "Oh, he finna play Usher, Lover, and Friend." I'm like, "No, he not. How the fuck you know that?" This literally it's the computer right here, and I'm like, and then this nigga, I was like, "Yo," how she was like, "That's the same mix."
That's wild.
That's funny.
But you know what, Marcus? I'm so glad that you're here for this conversation because we're going to be talking a lot about DJs. And I think that your like experience, you might be able to help us better explain like the inner workings of what happens in the music industry when it comes to radio stations, DJs, and song plays, especially because that happens to be the topic this week. So for the listeners out there, welcome back to the Bar Exam. I'm your girl, Allie Rayner. You guys were just listening to Mr. Marcus TV. Break it down real quick. So say hello, Mr. Marcus TV.
Yo, I didn't even know we was recording. That's real shit. We fucking like I wasn't even paying attention to the little thing. Yo, what up?
Yes, thanks, Marcus. And then we also have Mr. Eric G in the building. What's up, Eric?
What's good? What's good?
What's up, Eric? And then we also have Shane G in the building as well. Shane,
you know me. I'm in the background.
Shane's
drop a little knowledge here and there. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, why this nigga speaking through the speakers?
I'm the professor, right, Marcus? That's my shit, right? So I'm just coming through the speakers with some knowledge here and there. You know what I mean?
Yes, and we need it because this is a really interesting conversation. So let me just dive right into it. So we've mentioned it a little bit in the last few weeks. We talked about the industry seems to have this notion of pay to play that keeps popping up in the conversation, especially when it comes to hip hop. So coming before the bar this week is the presence of payola in hip hop. So for those of people who don't know what payola is, basically it is a practice of radio DJs being paid to play records for certain artists, and they're paid by labels, the artists, their managers, and even third parties. So back in the day, it was illegal for them to get paid directly by the artist, the manager, and the label. But nowadays, they found loopholes by incorporating the middleman, the third party, a little bit more. But the lines kind of blur up because it seems that there have been times where these same third party organizations are also the DJs. So, for example, back in the early 2000s, Funkmaster Flex was accused of being one of the DJs that was part of the Payola scheme at Hot 97. So someone had written an anonymous letter and they broke down what was going on between, supposedly, what allegedly was going on between Flex and his company, his music promotion company called Franchise Marketing. And it was basically a promotion company that was paid by labels like Bad Boy, Def Jam, Rough Riders, Rockefeller, Murder Inc., Cash, like basically everybody. And they would pay franchise marketing, and then Flex would get his team of 25 DJs to play the records, allegedly. And it was not considered legal because technically franchise marketing was that third party entity, but people were pissed because they felt like, well, Flex was on both ends of it. In the end, it was actually kind of crazy because Flex thought that it was another DJ from Power 105 or 106, something like that. He accused Steph Lova of being the person that wrote the letter, and like even like attacked her. Apparently, Flex was charged with assault, but there was no Payola investigation. So that is just one example of Payola that happened back in the early 2000s. But nowadays, maybe radio isn't as prominent, but there are digital streaming platforms. There are the like YouTubes of the world with the video streaming. So it does seem like nowadays, like there's absolutely a way for people to find other loopholes, especially because back then, even when all of these allegations came out, there were no investigations that actually went down. And from what people were saying, that like the industry, the radio stations and the industry basically just hoped that the DJs would self-police themselves and rein it back in. So I don't know if that's true or not. Really quick, let me just drop some numbers just to give an example of how much money they were making back then. So New York Magazine said that back then, a music radio executive had been quoted saying that they were being paid around $300,000 for top 40 songs, and anything between $75,000 to $200,000 for urban radio songs. And that was around the time that they were hoping that people were going to self-police themselves. So I don't know if that really happened. Do you guys know anything about this? Have you heard about all this payola stuff in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Payola.
Yeah, like
it's like one of the oldest practices in the music industry, like pretty much ever at this point. Yeah. Like from
like anyone has
from what we've seen, like I'm not surprised, and I just think now, this is gonna sound cliche, but with the times, everything changes. But I mean, it's kind of true. Now payola is just different. Now we're just seeing it in different forms. You can't payola your way into the music industry the same way now that you did back in the 90s or even the mid 2000s for that matter. And there's multiple reasons for that, but I would personally say the biggest reason you can't really do that is because of the way that music is being consumed nowadays. Back then it was all about radio play. It was all about getting those spins up. Now it's all about getting on the playlist and getting your name on a festival lineup. Those are the two most important things. So I just think that it has evolved into different forms, and the way, and it's gonna continue to go that way if the music industry continues to evolve the way that it is. But I mean, it's just been interesting because it's so prevalent in rap music as a whole, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it has been for a while.
Right, and I think that people are really talking about it more because they feel like they've been noticing it, like we said, on the digital platforms, the streaming platforms, but also at the award show. So, Marcus, you actually noticed some talking, some rumors bubbling up in different articles online after the BET Awards, right?
Right. Well, that stemmed from Carisha Please winning Best Hip Hop Podcast for the second year in a row.
And it only dropped 3 episodes this year, apparently.
I don't even know how many she dropped, but people
3 or 4 allegedly.
Yeah, and the crazy part about her dropping is let's just talk about the other shows. You got The Breakfast Club, Drink Champs, Joe Budden.
That's what I was going to say. What is considered a hip hop podcast? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, it was.
Angie's show on there too.
Who?
Angie Martinez. Doesn't she have a podcast?
She has a podcast, but I don't think it was up for consideration.
Gotcha.
So it was Joe Budden, Drink Champs, $1 Million Worth of Game, and it was 2 more, maybe Hip Hop DX or something.
Are they that are they trying to say that people voted these people in? So it wasn't from a list that BET gave them. It was basically people who work at BET and I guess maybe writers and other people.
Yeah, it was an BET industry. I don't know, but it wasn't people's choice. This was supposed to be like by peers and standards and people who's supposed to have like a behind the scenes knowledge.
And they nominate.
And they nominate. So out of the nominations, so let's say the first, let's go back, let's rewind to last year. Last year, her winning, so between $1 million worth of game, Drink Champs, and Breakfast Club, it's really a preference out of those three, who you like more. You know, it's a 1A, 1B, 1C. If you're a Joe Budden fan and you like his style, you're going to be like, that was better than Drink Champs. If you like Drink Champs, the fact that they get into it, first of all, Drink Champs is a 3-hour show? Is it 3? I'm watching all of Drink Champs. So in my mind, that's a quality show because it kept my attention for whoever they're interviewing for 3 hours. That's one. $1 million.
Real quick though, Marcus, I just want to speak to that point too. They're so totally different types of shows. Like I think you can do Drink Champs and $1 million worth of game because they're both interview style. You know what I mean? Joe Budden barely ever interviews anybody. Joe Budden is just on there kicking it with his homies, talking shit. It's a totally different type of show.
And then for Carisha Please, just to mention, I feel like lately she's been interviewing people who are not like for example, one of her most recent interviews was with Ari Fletcher. Like she's not a hip hop artist, you know what I mean? She's in the industry, but I don't think that she's not an artist. She doesn't have any music. So like I feel like even having Carisha Please being in the running when she doesn't necessarily only interview hip hop artists, whereas I feel like $1 million worth of game, they do a lot of interviews with hip hop artists. Same thing with Drink Champs, Breakfast Club, you know, and then like what Shane was saying, Joe Budden, not so much. Carisha Please, I feel like is also one of those like talk shows. Like, you know, I don't feel like they're on there to talk about the music, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
I kind of feel that. So I'm gonna be honest. I look at Joe. This is not a shot at Joe Budden. I look at Joe Budden the same way I look at Wendy Williams. I was not a Wendy Williams fan. Like I told you, I come from a radio background. What Wendy Williams was able to do to take her morning show and take it to a talk show, her career is legendary in terms of setting the status, and you can come from radio and then you can be on TV. You know, that pathway of the career, whether I like the content or not, is great. Joe Budden is the same way in the sense of podcasting. You know, what he's able to do with a podcast. I have to like Joe Budden because if I want to be one day on that type of podcast with that type of, you know, you have to respect Joe Budden. With Carisha Please, she was doing it, but it was like, okay, the first year, like, why are we recognizing her? And then, you know, like it was kind of you know, she had this and she had some good interviews. The Kevin guy, you know, I personally thought the other three were so kind of closer that whatever you choose, somebody was gonna be like, man, they shouldn't have. You know, everybody was gonna be mad. At least when Carisha Please, on the first year, it was like, well, she won. Now everybody, you know, I ain't win either, nigga. You ain't win, I ain't win, they ain't win. You know, it was kind of like that. It was that. This year was different is because of the way they was saying it. They said it like she wins for the second year in a row, meaning that she's doing it so much better than them, and that's just not the case.
Like, so why do you think that is, Marcus? Talk to us. Why did that happen?
I mean, look at who she's with. She's with Diddy. Mm-hmm. You know, does Diddy know how to oil the machine? Yes, he does. You know, Diddy can manipulate and grease the palms and, you know, put people in the position of looking the other way quite frequently. And just not to get too off track, if that's the case, he's been doing it since the 90s. If we want to believe the hip hop rumors, you know, that are out there, you know, that, you know, he paid $1 million to, you know, get people hit in the 90s. So, you know, if he's used to paying to get what he's want, you know, it's no different than that it is now. But let's take a step back to regionalize what we're talking about. when Jay-Z, I'm sorry, when New York was considered on top of the hip hop, and then the South came up, all of the DJs in New York were top of the game. So you paid attention to what Clue was spinning. You paid attention to what Funk Master Flex was spinning. Anybody on Hot 97, period, set the tone for the country in terms of hip. If you got on, it was a Freestyle Friday here in St. Louis, on BET 106 in Park. One of the dudes, Big Will, got on there from St. Louis. He was on Hot 97 Freestyle. And they was
I
like,
remember
oh
that
my
nigga.
God,
I remember Big Will.
you know what I'm saying? That was a big deal because he was on Hot 97 in New York. Like, oh my God, that was that type of moment. Then what happened? Atlanta started coming up on the rise. And when Atlanta came on the rise with music, guess who came with them? The Atlanta DJs. So who was that? The first radio DJ to break anything was Greg Street. Greg Street was killing Atlanta, more so killing
Yes, he
Atlanta
was.
without any New York help. He was playing. He was playing. It was 18. In my
He still
opinion,
is to this day too.
Greg Street was as important as Funk Master Flex is to New York.
Wow.
And maybe you can put him a little bit ahead because Greg Street didn't only had one out, like one kind of like peak. He's still not known in terms of as that. I mean, he's known in the industry and known amongst the city, but he's not mainstream known like everyone else. And then who was in Florida, breaking Florida artists? You had TJ's DJs. That's where you got everything from Florida, along with DJ Smalls. Then when Texas came about, that was Swisher House. Those were the chopped and screwed. So as hip hop moved, the DJs can't, rise to power move too. So then I remember Cameron talking about Paid in Full. It might have been paid. I don't know if it was Paid in Full or one of them documentary. He was like, Harlem runs hip hop. And he was like, how the fuck does Harlem? He was like, we run whatever the Harlem street numbers, 126 to 145th. I don't know, whatever the fuck Harlem is. And that runs New York. New York runs hip hop and runs the rest of the country. So Harlem, like the shit we do in Harlem affects the whole culture. And at the time, they had Rockefeller, Dipset, it was at the height of, you couldn't argue with it. You couldn't argue with it because how many people were paying attention to everything New York did? No one, when you stopped paying attention to New York, then you didn't know who to pay. Because
that's why when Wayne went to New York, it was so impactful.
Yeah.
That's why the minute he went to New York, it was like he took off to a whole different stratosphere, because once he went to New York, he started not only getting more influence, but he started getting influenced by New York and by the swag. And he kind of took bits and pieces and elements of it and then made it his own. And then he kind of spread that outwards. But it was because he was right there in Harlem with Dipset and them.
Wow. Okay. This is all starting to make a lot more sense. I didn't realize that it was like this whole, like, once the music, the sound shifted, the power also shifted. But that makes a lot more sense, especially because, yeah, like it seems like that trend continues nowadays with the cycle that we've mentioned it before, how it's like New York will be on, and then it'll be the South, and then all of a sudden it'll be like LA, and then it'll go back. And it seems like we move through the different areas every, few seasons, every couple months. It seems like we'll adapt this new sound, for the next couple months, and then we'll move on to the region. So I think that makes a lot more sense now. And I think people will now kind of start to like see those connections more and more, especially with the DJs, because as a consumer, a lot of times you don't even think about how much the DJ plays a part in how often you hear the music and where it's getting played, and and how often it's going to get played throughout the next few months or whatever. So it's really interesting how it all is kind of like this secret.
It's all intertwined.
Yeah, but it's like it's secret, but it's not. Like, you know what I mean? I don't understand how it seems like the industry all knows about it, but somehow like the consumer still hasn't really like put it together
Do you
exactly.
They're
listen
getting
to
more
I
hip.
have a
They're getting more hip to it because they
I
wouldn't
have a
know
quick
things about the
factoid.
Carisha thing if it wasn't
Mm,
for that. You know what I mean? Those type
yeah,
of things wouldn't be as noticed.
there's so
Well,
much more.
Allie, this is for you. I got a quick factoid.
Okay.
The radio payola scandal of the late 1950s, which was pretty much when it kind of got blown up,
Yeah.
1959 to be specific. So the radio payola scandal of the late 1950s, in which DJs and others took bribes to play certain records, saw many lose their jobs. The practice went underground to
Mm,
reappear several times in subsequent years.
yeah. And that's
So
exact. And I think around like the 60s is when like they finally like put those laws in, and that makes sense. 59 and then
yep.
60 finally got it passed. That totally makes sense. But yeah, and now we see that it's like, even like I was saying before, maybe we're not super into radio like we were before, but the award shows, we're seeing it pop up like with Carisha Please. I think other people felt a type of way when they saw that Diddy won the Global Icon Award at the VMAs, and he just so happens to be dropping his 17th album titled Love. So it's like, hey, is it a coincidence? I don't really think
no.
so. And it just so happens that we were just talking about Carisha Please winning, and that Diddy could possibly be playing a role in her winning. And he's also winning a lot this year as well. So I think it's interesting that they're being a little bit more blatant this year. I think it's because so many people have projects that they're just really trying to push on us. Maybe
Somebody
that's
else did that too, right? Somebody else pulled a Diddy and did that same thing, right? Like they either hosted something because they
I
got
felt like, yeah,
nominated, or
people
one of
felt
your
like
homegirls. Oh,
Hmm.
okay. I thought you was gonna
Well,
leave her out, Allie. I
I
thought you
mean,
was gonna try to leave her
no,
out.
no,
I'm
no, no.
like,
I was gonna
no.
mention it, but I was like, let
Oh,
me
all right.
like, I didn't. I was gonna also mention her later because actually, if we're gonna talk about it, so Nicki Minaj is one of the people that they were accusing of recently at the VMAs, same award show. She supposedly won the best hip hop video for Super Freaky Girl. And she performed her brand new songs, one that had already dropped and then one that had not dropped just yet, at the award show, and she was the host. So it was like, it felt very much like Payola could have been involved, just because they're saying that originally it didn't seem like she was like even close to winning. Like she was going up against Cardi B and Glorilla's Tomorrow Too, and she was going up against like Lil Uzi's Just Wanna Rock, and like both of those songs went crazy. And don't get me wrong, Super Freaky Girl got streams, but I'm pretty sure like she got, like, for example, on her YouTube video streams, she got like 45 million. Both of those songs by themselves got 160 million views. So more than likely people are feeling like it was could have been some payola. But she happens to also be somebody who complained about payola before, when she had problems with Cardi B. So her and Cardi B had that huge blowout at the Harper's Bazaar party back in the day. And after that, Nicki Minaj jumped onto her Queen Radio podcast and said something along the lines of, quote, she has built her career off of sympathy and payola. And everyone thinks that she was talking about Cardi B. More than likely she was, because they had just had a moment. And it wasn't, and it's not the first time, Cardi and Nicki have had beef. And it seems that like Nicki is coming at Cardi with the whole your plan, or you don't write your raps, you pay for airtime. So it seems to be a theme, but it also seems like the same people who sometimes complain about it also benefit,
hey,
allegedly.
this is real shit. Do y'all watch Marvel movies? Like, have
Yeah.
you seen Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
You remember when Doctor Strange would go into the mirror world, and then the world was turning on this axis, and then they was then turning on this axis, and then another turning on this axis, and then they fighting and shit and doing all of this? If they knew how to make a hit record, it wouldn't be that complicated. You can't tell the public what to like. You can force feed some shit. You can DJ Khaled just overload. Oh, so where it's like, damn, I'm aware of it, but you can still have people on award shows. Actually, it happens at the fucking Grammys. How many times have you? I did not know a Bad Bunny song.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely had
And,
a very
what
career.
that motherfucker took over and performed. People like, oh, that's bad, and they were going.
Bad Bunny's the most streamed artist
Most
in the
streamed
world.
artist.
He is. He's the biggest
Yeah.
streamer in the world. So I don't know. Some people might say
Can
like,
you name me a Bad Bunny song?
Champea.
for
Anybody
me,
else?
I
Yeah,
wanna say,
that's
07 Vero just came
Okay.
out on his new album.
so
okay.
you're a Bad Bunny fan. Like you knew, like you kept up with, like you're able to be like, oh yeah, that's Bad Bunny.
This is the first time I like actually went to listen.
Okay,
Like
that's
this,
fair.
this is the first time I actually went
But
to go listen.
that's after the grant, after because you was like, well, goddamn, who is this?
Eric, keep it real. Why did we fuck with Bad Bunny? Be real.
We fucked with Bad Bunny because we saw him on WWE first.
Not
And
shut
we
up.
saw him show out
man.
and be a fantastic wrestler. So that's what we saw first.
Okay.
And it worked.
Then
Okay,
once we saw him there, then we were like, all right, we'll catch the music now.
And another piece of it, I'll throw this out there too, because he's had like 2 or 3 matches, and in this last match that he had, it was in Puerto Rico, and his entrance, the crowd was so lit, and they was chanting every word to the song. It made you like the song, even if you had never heard it before. You was like, no, I gotta go hear this shit, and that's why I know what champagne
Yeah.
is. You know
And
what I'm saying?
I can totally
Okay,
attest to that effect when it comes to Bad Bunny, because when I went to Puerto Rico for my girls' trip, that's all they wanted to fucking play. Every club you went to, everywhere, that's all they wanted to play, and every single person knew all of the words to Bad Bunny. So I can't lie. Shane's totally right. Like sometimes you are kind of forced into it because everyone else around you is just so crazy about this person. You're like, let me actually listen, and you get, you kind of become this like proxy fan. So I think Bad Bunny, I think people could possibly say, did he pop off because organically because of his music, or because he was already getting a lot of attention from his really diehard fans?
I think Payola and the whole pay for play thing, all of these things help you as an artist. You know, like if the song, if Puerto Rico was supporting him, like you just said, like, when you go there and everybody was playing it. So now the payola is easier because I don't have to force feed it. So now, like, oh shit, now I can quote unquote give you merch, give you tickets, give you an interview, give all of these other things to help you support the record that you already have to play anyway because the public is looking for. The problem is when it's not a hit, or it's when the artist is coming around. Well, I'll take this approach. BG just recently came home. BG is in the studio. Cash Money is probably gonna have a tour coming up soon. We've talked about this. BG is going to have new music along with his old music. How now if it's not hot, I don't even want to say not hot, but if it's not well received publicly, watch how the record gets worked. And when I say work, it's gonna be service. It's gonna have to start as a lower tier before it's not gonna come out as a power song. You're not hearing it at the top. Like, do y'all listen to satellite radio?
No.
Okay, on the car on satellite, it's the same 30 songs on satellite, and that's supposed to be national.
Right.
It's regional. People have 2 tiers, but across those platforms, the morning show, the same songs you hear on Sway, same songs you hear in the midday, the same songs you hear at night, and then it starts getting the regional to what you have to look for with the weekly. But those are the artists that are getting worked. It's no coincidence. We'll take Sexy Red, for instance. Trash ass lyrics, but I support her. Have to, because what is she doing? Winning right now because everyone is supporting her. You think everyone's supporting her because they love her lyrics? You think because it's just a catchy song? No, look at the money behind her. It ain't no accident that she was with Drake.
Hey, Marcus, I got a question for you, bro.
Yeah.
Do you think that so like let's say that they do what you just said with BG, right? Let's say that they take BG, you know what I'm saying? He's fresh out, salute BG, welcome home. And build the tour first. Because that was kind of what you insinuated. Like he's gonna be working on new music, but they're gonna be doing a welcome home BG / Hot Boys tour in all likelihood, right?
Right.
So do you think that's the best way to premiere new music? Because at a concert, especially a Hot Boys concert, like you don't even, the only way that you know the words is if you already knew the words type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna clearly hear what these niggas are saying on stage. It's mostly energy. It's not really, you know what I'm saying? So like, is that even the best place to debut some new shit? Like
I think the music
drop on YouTube with a Wayne feature, let it get a couple million, and then go on tour.
So I think this is where the music business becomes the music business. Okay. So, you know, Beyonce recently went on tour. Everybody was a Renaissance tour. Beyonce attached her artist code to her concert sales. So to her album sales. So her tour, let's just say the Renaissance tour saw 2 million fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 million albums, singles, records sold. You just consumed it, the live version. You didn't walk away with an actual hand and copy of the album.
Right.
But you consumed it. So when you bought that $250 ticket, you were buying her album.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
You were a live performance of the album.
Right.
A new way, like a bundle.
Yeah, you got a or whatever, you know, you bought that. So when BG has new music, if his artist code and they go on tour and the tour does the same way, if the Hot Boy reunion tour does 3.5 million fans or whatever, when he came home, he dropped his new single and it performed, it did this, it went play, you know, this was a bit, even if people don't recognize it, take it home and be like, oh yeah, it was cool. It might go gold. It might do this. I don't know, but that's where the business becomes the business. I mean, like if he comes out of a hit with it, which I mean, he might. And that's another thing too. People are actually looking for BG.
Yeah,
so, you know,
they are.
Even if it's not, it's like the Diddy approach. You're not there yet. When you get back in the lab, I like one, I don't like all five, you know, because when you come out, we need to make sure that all 20 of these motherfuckers hit, you know, but he can win right now with a single. Actually, technically, he could win right now with a 16.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's kind of my thing. I'm like, if he drops a dope feature on a Wayne record, for example, because Wayne will do it. Like Wayne, he don't give a fuck. He raps with everybody, first of all, and this is BG. Second of all, his day one. Like, he gonna give that nigga a few features, I'm sure. If they about to go on tour together, they probably about to drop a new project, a new Hot Boys album. So, assuming all of that, I'm like, there's easy ways for BG to get right back kind of where he was, because people are looking forward to hearing what he's got to say, and everything's upgraded now. Like, you got Wayne, who is considered the GOAT now, like by a lot of people. Like, he's in the majority of people under the age of, definitely under the age of 30, I would say. Like, he's in their like top 5 greatest of all time. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I feel that, and I also feel like BG winning. BG doesn't have to win as BG. The Hot Boys can win because of BG.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he doesn't have to carry it.
Exactly.
Just the fact that they together, and that, you know, it's like, I mean, because
it's easier to get your chops back in a group for sure.
Yeah.
Because all you got to do is, realistically, all you got to do is come up with a 16 per song and maybe help with some of the hooks. That's all your job is in a group. Yeah. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's an easy way to get your chops back. And then you come back and drop the solo album talking about, you know, all your prison stories and, you know what I mean, what you've been through and all of that type shit.
And then look at, I mean, this is a hard, I mean, this happened. Look what happened to the Migos when they were not on the radio and they performed at a festival.
Yeah.
You Eric, you remember that clip,
What happened?
right? You remember that clip
Mm-hmm.
when we talking about Migos.
Yeah. You can see the difference.
Apex of when they were on this thing, and I mean in the peak, you had hands and people and just way and I mean it was a lit performance.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, you're no longer on the radio and people aren't hearing you as much as they did, and you get on stage and
it don't hit the same.
It was almost Ice Spice fail like. It was a fail, but it was almost like horribly like what are they doing on stage? If you didn't tell me it was the Migos and you said this was somebody else on stage, I'd be like, why would they even put them on this lineup? Because that's how bad they looked at a fest. Now, mind you, it was a festival, so it's what 10,000 plus,
something like that minimum.
Yeah, wow. Not standing there still.
Wow.
That's and the thing is like, to piggyback off what you guys were saying, it doesn't really take a whole lot for BG to get his mojo back right now, because as we can kind of see, the bar is kind of low right now. We've talked about it a couple of times with sales being down over 40% with rap right now. It looks like it's about to come up out of a slump, because it looks like the end of the year we're gearing up to get a lot of good stuff. We have gotten a lot of good stuff in the past couple of weeks, but still the bar ultimately is low right now. So it's not hard to see that the Migos are in the position that they're in right now, especially after everything that they've been through. But it's also not hard to imagine that a BG can now capitalize off of that, because people right now have a need for something else, whether that is what we were just talking about, the Bad Bunnies of the world, whether that's coming from somewhere else. People have a need for something else.
And
so
not for
and
nothing.
As much as we say there's something else, like, I'm a fan, I love ratchet music, like nothing, like, but
yeah, I'm glad you said that, Marcus, because that's what I was thinking. Like him and Boosie. Like Boosie's one of the most popular niggas right now. And him and Boosie is tight.
It's getting to a point where, like, God damn, is that all we have? And it's not, even though I'm a fan of it and I love it, I'm like, well, shit, is everything ratchet? Everything? Like,
yeah, a little bit. A little.
Like,
it is and it's not. It is and it's not.
I feel like we were doing a lot of toxic, songs, in hip hop for a while. And then it went to like, I feel like now it's trying to do this, not Loverboy, because that was Drake for a second. That was part of the toxic.
No, we're in like another like crunk era, it feels like.
Does it, because of the sexy reds that are coming out?
The crunk era is
but like it's something. I can't really describe it because it doesn't just feel like that.
Because something else that I'm forgetting. There's also like a little bit of the conscious still around, but I don't know if it's outweighing the ratchet at this point. Like I think
it's not.
Marcus has the point, and
it never really has though. Like it's always been more ratchet and more street and more club than it was conscious. Because even conscious niggas dabble in that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Kweli will have at least one like overtly sexual record on every album. The rest of the album be on some positive shit, feed the kids and teach niggas and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, eat right and, drink water. He be doing that on the whole album. But it's going to be one where he's like, hey, bitch, come here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?
Yeah. Oh, you know what it was? We did trap for a long time. And so, now it's just a little bit, it's going to be more of like this ratchet, like, I think this lo-fi kind of as well, like with, just playing around with like different sounds, like when it comes to like the things that we have now. Like I think Travis and Uzi, they do a lot of weird things, but like these 16-year-olds, they love it. Like they love that weird.
But that's a lot. See, they weird ass niggas. Like weird ass niggas do weird ass shit that gets other weird ass motherfuckers to like that shit. You
But
know,
it seems like to become a trend all
the internet connects weird ass people. Like, you know, before that weird ass dude down the street had no friends, didn't know who to talk to, was in the corner of the class. Now he's at the internet. 5 turns into 10, 10 turns into 20, 20 turns into 50. Now these motherfuckers didn't meet up together. Now it's a whole weird ass nigga convention, and y'all like no, we're our own demographic. We're weird. Now they fucking minion to this weird ass shit. And you like, and Lil Uzi is like the fucking Despicable Me of these niggas. Yeah, all these fucking weird ass niggas like marching to the beat of this drum. And you like, who is this nigga doing this weird ass shit?
They love him, and I think we're gonna see it more and more because it's like the younger generation, like the 16-year-olds, they love him, and I think like they like going to the shows to be extra as fuck. Like they go to Travis and Uzi's to like mosh and like do that extra shit. And I feel like you said, they feel like they're a part of a community. But really quick, because we touched on so much when it came to Payola, and Marcus, you dropped a whole lot of knowledge, especially when it came to the radio DJs. I hope a lot of people also caught when you mentioned that there's other ways for people to get on. Like you don't have to just like pay a DJ, straight up. You can give them tickets. You can put on shows. Like, you can give exclusive interviews, things like that, you can pay for. Like, you can be like, hey, come out to the club. I'm here. You can pay for their bottle, pay for their hookah, all that type of shit. And, it's kind of like this, you scratch my back, scratch mine. I'll scratch yours.
Because Payola just said bribes. It didn't say financial bribes. It just said bribes.
Yeah.
So that's any of that is all bribes.
They used to have meet and greets at like strip clubs, or studio sessions, and shit used to be lit and wild to where you was like, they would hold it over your head too. Like, if you came to DJ so-and-so meet and greet to promote artist ABC, and you knew you wasn't gonna fuck with artist ABC, but you stayed there and drank all that liquor, you enjoyed all the festivities of the entertainment. You didn't have no ones, and then you didn't went back in the room and messed with Shorty in the back who was going like a yellow light. And then now they come down. So now and mind you, these hood niggas too. So now they come like, hey, you ain't spinning my record. Oh man, that shit whack. Well, you ain't say it was whack 2 months ago when you was in the studio and Tatiana done domed you up.
It's the truth.
It wasn't whack then.
Yeah.
So now then that's when people got their ass whooped in the club.
Yeah. No, really quick. Right, like that shit is crazy. But we don't even have enough time to like really dive into that. Really quick though, because we barely got to even talk about it, but it's super important. Before we close out the show, I think that we have to talk about it. How digital streaming platforms are doing their own type of payola. Like when it comes to playlists, if you guys haven't noticed, quite a lot of times, like for example, when Doja Cat dropped, like not this current album, but I saw it a lot more when she dropped her Pink album. All of a sudden, she was on top of all of these different playlists, on top of all of these, on the face of she was the face of playlists that she wasn't even in. Same thing that happened with Drake when he dropped the Scorpion album. All of a sudden, his face was all over Spotify, and he was the cover of playlists that his songs weren't even on. So, do you think that rather than just doing the radio thing, doing the tickets and the award shows, there's also something to be said about the digital streaming platforms?
100%. They're all doing the exact same thing. They're all going to Apple, going to Spotify, whichever respective streaming platform that you have, Pandora, whatever it is. They're going to all these places and they're going to them and they're basically just being like, yo, we're dropping on this Friday. We want this playlist, this playlist, this playlist. We want all of them blocked out for the foreseeable 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that's how long we want the album cycle to be pushed for. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Every single time a new major album drops on the Rap Life playlist, go and look at the face of who's on it. It's whatever major album dropped that week. So let's say it's Lil Durk and there's nobody else major that's like in the same like kind of tier that's dropping in like that next like 3-week cycle. Lil Durk's face will be on their Rap Life picture. Same thing with Spotify with their Rap Caviar playlist.
So let's
same exact thing.
We got to do a whole nother section about the technology in music, because right now, bots and AI and things like that aren't the music industry, and the digital platforms have no way of policing bots. And technically speaking, bots aren't illegal, and it's a manipulation, because and I'm not paying for the streams. There is like, you remember Shane, can you find that picture of the Dark Knight with when he had all of them screens on the wall, and he was listening to every device, and he was like, no, you can't do this, Batman, and they have rooms like that to manipulate your stream.
Yep. So dedicated server rooms.
If I have a song, and let's just say my server room can generate 5,000 streams a day, right? So if just my little setup can 5,000 a day for 30 days. Now I've manipulated my streams on these platforms across the board to look like I'm reaching these people that I'm not. So now when I take that's exactly what I was talking about. Now when I take that same manipulation to an ad company and say, oh, what did you just say about listeners? 80 million listeners. Now I go to somebody and say, hey, I'm just starting out rapping, but I got 25,000 monthly listeners and I'm just on my way. Now I might not necessarily get the best deal, but I'm going to get something because I have 25,000. Now I get that money from what I got from the 25,000 listeners that I generated, invest that again. Now I'm able to generate 100,000 listeners a month. Now I go back to them and say, hey, you saw how my song is taking off. I'm manipulating my numbers. Meanwhile, the public has no fucking clue who I am.
Got you.
They don't. They're you.
And you got a record deal out of it. And
you like, yeah. Who is this dude?
Pay for your next project.
Exactly. So it's a manipulation, and then they claim that manipulation. Oh, those are real people, because the streams are real. It was like he showed you that all of those screens on that movie, like those are actual devices. So I generated those numbers. I actually had those numbers are authentic. Those are real. They're verified. YouTube. Even if I get 1 million subscribers, what happens is when I drop that video on that YouTube, nobody watches it. It's not now. I've generated 60,000 quote unquote listeners a month, and now that video only does 5K. Hold on.
But that's when the true payola starts. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, all right, we didn't already invested money into this little nigga, and he ain't doing what we need him to do. So let's put him on the DJs. Well, or just straight up old school. Okay, we got to go to the DJs and be like, yo, I'm gonna give you a little something if you play this record a couple times this week for me. You know what I'm saying? And you're mixed. All right, cool, I got you. And then they go to another city and do the same thing, and then all of a sudden, and then how it is if you hear a song enough times, like sometimes that motherfucker get catchy, and you're like, okay, now I like this nigga. You know what I'm saying? Because they done paid DJs to play this nigga's record that otherwise wouldn't have got played by them DJs, and that's why it's a problem. You know what I mean? And like Eric said, I think they're doing the exact same thing with playlists. But this is what I wanted to ask you, Marcus, as being somebody working in radio. Because like you even said it's the same songs that they play in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. It's like the same 20 songs, you would say? 25. are the people now? Granted, yeah, it's Drake and people like that, but are the labels still paying to like make sure that they stay in those spots? Like, is that because there has to be a reason why it's so uniform across the whole country? You know what I'm saying? It's like every radio station that's, the hot hip hop of today or whatever, they're all playing the exact same songs. Like nobody plays nothing different now.
So it's kind of twofold. Is one, PDs and music directors don't have the same type of power that they used to. So now they have to like local shows and mix shows are almost, that's where you have to break new music, because I can't put it on the playlist unless it does good in the mix show. But like quality DJs is going to tell you never want to take your radio first. See, people got it kind of, but let's take where's the counter, because I'm gonna mention it. Let's take Glorilla for instance. Right? Let's take Glorilla.
Where you at? Five now?
Gorilla went viral overnight, literally overnight, right? So by the record moved so fast, it had to be on the radio because people were looking for it. The radio in really turn is where records go to die, because that should be your last stop. You want to work the record. People want to know, because the people going to listen to the radio no matter what. You don't want to go to the radio first, because the radio can only spin you for so long. And now if you do good on the radio, because people are claiming you're on shows, you're on concert, but you don't never want to go to the radio first. But that's not always the case with artists and people, because they feel like, no, I need to be, the people need to hear me. No, you need to get out and work your record. People need to listen to it, and you need to have a fan base. So when you in another city, they know who the fuck you are. Big, if that's the case, Big Boogie wouldn't be doing radio interviews where every city knows his song if he had to play it there first.
Right.
That makes sense.
Across the country, everybody was like, "Oh, that's Big Dude." You didn't even know. You was like, "Oh shit, damn, that's I'm cool." You heard it before you saw him. But if you heard him on the radio and he was like, "Oh, okay, I've been listening to that for 5-6 months," you'd be like, "Oh, he just now coming?" Or you were a fan and you looking for him, like, "Oh no, Big Boogie coming on. I got to make sure I'm there. Oh, this shit hot."
Yeah,
now,
right.
It's a bit like, but.
But I can see why you would say that though, because people aren't going to the radio nowadays to hear new music first. You wouldn't expect a new Glorilla to get there immediately off the first go around, because in today's age, if you're hearing that on the radio, then that means you're getting to it late.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's already been on YouTube, digital streaming platforms. Like nowadays we wait for things to drop on Friday, right? Like Friday morning, all the new songs are there and you're supposed to consume them over the weekend or whatever. So yeah, once it finally hits the radio, it's like, this has been playing a while and the numbers show that it does well. So it makes sense why they do it.
And a lot of times I see that artists they'll put the album out and now they will wait and see what the fans think the single should be, or whatever is getting the most spins on the album, and then they'll be like, all right, that's going to be the single now, and then they'll go be like, all right, that's the one. Go take that to radio.
Because everybody thinks they Beyonce. Everybody thinks they can drop a project and it's going to go and it's in that people are waiting on your project to drop. And that's really not the case.
She messed the game up real bad when she did that.
But what are we waiting on right now to do that? We waiting on the Lil Wayne to do that. We waiting on the Hot Boys. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say I was disappointed. I was waiting on the Drake to do it. It just didn't hit like I thought it was gonna hit. It hit.
Yeah, it hit, exactly.
It hit, but it wasn't. I thought it was gonna be a grand slam.
You can't name an album For All the Dogs and then have it be that.
Yeah, it was just a home run.
I need one of the dogs. What the fuck is this?
For all the dogs. Like, you can't. No.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about Drake on this podcast or that album on this podcast yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. Because if it
Hey,
was crazy, it would have
hey,
happened.
before we get out of here, like this is a yes or no. And this is totally off. So this is music related just because he used to be a rapper.
Okay.
I just need to know, is Will Smith a victim? Yes or no?
Really quick.
Really quick. Just yes or no.
No.
You say no?
Just because of his most recent posts. If he hadn't made those posts, I would have said yes. But because of his Instagram posts, I say no.
What did he say?
Yeah, what did it say?
He went on there and he said that he had himself like sleeping on some random boat in the middle. It looked like he was in the Arctics or some random shit. And he was like, fun fact about me, I can sleep anywhere. And then the background noise was the ping of like, you know, like when you get an iPhone notification, it's like ding, 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 ding. Your phone going off. He's basically saying like he's unbothered, notifications off.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what he. So to me, that was okay. You're not a victim. That's still your bae. You still rocking. So.
You think he's
free my boy Will Smith.
Big Willie, big silly.
Yeah. I definitely think there's a thing called Stockholm syndrome. You know what I'm saying?
And, you said he fell in love with his captor?
You know what I mean? You can absolutely, you can fall in love with your abuser, and I feel like that's the same thing, right?
That's true. It could be. I don't know. It seems like at first this was like some form of emotional abuse, but honestly, it seems like he wants another round. So like, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Usually when you watch the girlfriend.
He's in love with his abuser. That's what I'm
saying.
saying.
What you got to do? You got to stay out of it. When you see your friends in love with the abuser, you can say whatever you want, but it's none of your motherfucking business.
Especially if they're married.
So I think this is fair to say that Will Smith, talent-wise, is easily, because of the movies he's done and and portraying Muhammad Ali. Easily, we can quote unquote say he is a top 5. Well, we know box office, he's a top 3, maybe even the number 1. I really know the box office numbers, but he is a top 3 acting talent. Like the man, I'm not his talent wise acting. If you're in the top 3, 1%, you're in the Tom Cruise of acting, right? I believe you can manipulate this public situation to act however you think that it can justify, and you have a way out of it. Like you mean to
never let them see you sweat, kind of a thing.
Right. So Will Smith is a top 3 actor. When he sits down to tell his story, I'm supposed to, and it's going to come across authentic, and it's going to come across real, and it's going to be this, that. Like even I'm like, is this really him acting, or is this a real? Is this a how would I know? He's full. I thought the motherfucker was Muhammad Ali. I legit thought he was Muhammad Ali. Like if you just the same way
as they had HD in the 70s.
Yeah, I'm like, this light skin. They got this nigga CGI right, and then you found out he didn't do no CGI. He learned how to box. He learned how to box from the same people that taught Michael B. Jordan how to box. So y'all just teaching actors how to box.
That's why I was like, hey, bro, you can't be slapping Will or slapping Chris Rock, bro. Like you have,
you gotta just
feel you might have killed this nigga.
Right. So I think that he can act his way out publicly of this situation masterfully. Like,
that's a good point.
And
very good point.
I mean, he winning cures everything.
Oh yeah.
We always said, if the team has problems but they winning, it doesn't matter if you got a Dennis Rodman on there. Doesn't matter if you got an Antonio Brown. Doesn't matter if you got a Pac-Man. Yeah. As long as you're winning, it doesn't matter. So let it.
Amen.
If Will Smith comes out with, wait till Bad Boy 4 drop.
Okay.
Mike Lowry can save Will Smith's career.
Nah, he might need a better smoker than a Bad Boys 4.
But hold on, you didn't hear what I said. I
Or
said
five.
Mike Lowry can save Will Smith. So if we see a public version of Will Smith acting like Mike Lowry.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
You see what I'm saying now?
Okay,
now Jada's finna suffer. Bitch, he Mike Lowry.
Got you. It all works out. Good.
Same way with Dr. Umar and Suki.
Oh my
God.
You see how crazy that sounds?
That shit
but imagine Will Smith with anybody.
Oh Lord.
Hey,
And
shout
not-
out to Dr.
no,
Umar
I'm sorry,
and
not Will
shout out
Smith.
to Margot Robbie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not Mike. I'm sorry, not Will Smith. You see Mike Lowry. The Mike Lowry version of Will Smith outside.
Oh, that was Mike. That wasn't Will.
That was
Mike.
all Mike.
In them pictures.
Hmm.
In them pictures.
All Mike.
That was Mike. That wasn't. He had Margot Robbie turned
And
up.
he
Like,
should, out here with an August, he should be out here with the goddamn Margot Robbie. Goddamn it, she's an amazing talent herself. So
I think she married on the real though. So shout out to her. They both actually deny it, but you know what I'm saying. I would like to
they
believe.
deny it.
I'd like
What
to.
movie was they in together?
I'm gonna say I'd like to believe it though. It was like Suicide Squad, I think. The movie
They did 2 movies together.
they
that
did
was
a few-
one of
yeah,
them.
She was a con artist, right?
Yeah, let me look it up for y'all real
It was
quick.
a really sad one. I forgot. But anyway, while Shane looks that up, we got to get back on the tracks real quick. We gotta say goodbye to the viewers. We done took y'all hostage for a little while now. I hope y'all really like this episode though, because this was a lot of fun. Let us know how you felt about the conversation about payola and hip hop. Did we miss some people? Were we wrong? Let us know in the comments. We definitely want to hear from you guys. Okay, it was Focus 2015. Shout out to Shane, our fact checker as always. And but thank you guys for watching this episode. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, like I said, and also to catch us every Monday for a new episode of Bar Exam. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.